You know, I keep pushing good videos back to make these timely videos to strike while the iron's hot. So, I'm going to comment on this LaughingWitch versus Thunderf00t thing that's going on right now. And before I made this video, I saw a video by Dr. Disposable Gorilla and a video by Persephone66, who each have different opinions than mine. I'll link them in the description box. But also, something that's informing my opinion here is the fact that previously in my life, I have had drama from YouTube follow me and affect my livelihood. First, in 2010, when a newspaper blogger who went by the pseudonym Gator decided to report me in the local newspaper for making videos about the road signs around there, and people, who read that newspaper saw my face, and, they were my coworkers, and it got around, and I got laid off out of order on that union electrician job. They found a way, okay? So that was one thing that affected me. I got outed as an atheist in Beaumont, Texas, which it doesn't really sit well with those folks down there. Two, I have had a business, about a year and a half ago this happened, where Josh Clark, a.k.a. Ashes the Raven, a.k.a. Fatal Error Network, a.k.a. Della Winters, a.k.a. Fucktard Galore, he decided to go to my business's Facebook page and just shit all over it with comments. Okay, and those people who were affected must have thought that he was just a psycho because, YouTube drama, it's easier to follow than when you're not even on YouTube and it just gets, splatted right there in the comments. It was just ridiculous, right? And it didn't really hurt my business that much, but I did have to have conversations about it with some of the vendors at my business. So, yeah, I have had YouTube drama come affect me in real life. Also, I have reported another YouTuber to the Board of Medicine because that YouTuber is or was a nurse called the Patriot Nurse, and she was selling classes for post-apocalyptic shit hits the fan prepper scenarios, but in those classes she was also promoting anti-vaxxing. She's an anti-vaxxer, and she wants you to get no inoculations or shots whatsoever, even though she's selling these classes and saying that she is a registered nurse. So I reported her to the Board of Medicine, and that's because I felt very strongly about this. This is something that I don't take lightly. And so my litmus test there was, do I feel strongly enough about this to report her, even though I've been reported myself? I will be affecting her livelihood. And I was like, I don't want her earning money in that way, because that's wrong. That's unethical for her to teach that and say that she's a registered nurse, because that holds some credibility to it. So I went ahead and did that. Link below to when I did that. And people were like, yay! I had a bunch of up thumbs for that. But now, LaughingWitch and Thunderf00t go at each other at their places of business, and people are like, boo on both sides. And I'm going to say, I stand with both of them. If they feel, each of them, strongly enough to do the attacks that they did about that other person, fine. You should, if you feel like honestly that it's something that needs to be done, go ahead and do it. All right? Search your heart, okay? I can't give you a better litmus test. If you really mean it, if you're not trolling, if you see a concern that needs to be addressed, go ahead and do it, okay? Here's where I take issue with both of them, okay? And these are things that maybe I didn't hear from Dr. Inventor Gorilla or Persephone66. We'll start with LaughingWitch. If you're going to write a letter in a campaign against someone, you should try to be more persuasive. And by that I mean, take a look at that letter that you're writing, set it down, come back the next day, pick it back up, and think, would a sane person take me with any bit of credibility and believe what I'm saying? Because when I saw what that letter was comprised of, all of that neo-McCarthyism and painting Phil Mason as a Nazi, I was shocked, because I know that Laughing Witch and Bewildered Ape have each a bunch of brain cells in their heads, but apparently none of them were fucking firing because Nazi, 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 Nazi. And I just imagined Phil Mason's boss going, hey Phil, come get a load of this. You know, this lady thinks that you're a Nazi. You know, I imagine his coworkers that were all sorts of other persuasions other than Aryan were having a laugh at it too, because he has a lot of relationships at work, right? So it really boggles my mind for me to think that Phil Mason wasn't already doxed to his employer long ago. See, here's the thing. He's got 320,000 subscribers who liked atheism and science. The man works in a research center, you know. There's a good likelihood that somebody has spotted this man with wolfman hair growing out the sides of his fucking cheeks and said, you know, there's only one man on the planet who thinks that's sexy. And that's Thunderf00t. You look a lot like that. He has been outed before. Chances are, okay? So to think that you're the one who's breaking it to his boss, you know, and it didn't already happen at his place of employment, is really fucking absurd. You know? Plus, Dawa Films beat you to it, probably. But if you're going to write a letter, be persuasive, okay? If you really do mean it, that you really want him checked out by his boss, don't call him a Nazi. No one's going to fucking listen to that, okay? And I know everyone that's watching this video, they also were thinking, holy shit, that sounds crazy, you know? Yeah, I know that you feel like your logic leads to, like, that's the kind of thing that a Nazi would say, and yeah, he's been put on the spot with some hypotheticals that were about eugenics and evolution and whatnot by Ray Comfort, but that does not make him a Nazi. Really. Search your heart. Do you think that Thunderf00t would call himself a Nazi? Do you think that he would associate himself with anyone that was goose-stepping and sig-hailing? Do you? I don't think so. I really don't. So, on the Thunderf00t side, two things, okay? Two things that no one said before, but I'm going to just put this out there, because Thunderf00t did fuck up, okay? Twice. Okay, and I'm not talking about deciding to retaliate against LaughingWitch. Okay, in a way that's like, oh well, everyone's saying that I'm commanding this army without saying it overtly, so I'll show them how to command an army without saying it overtly, in a kind of Dennis the Menace, if I'm going to be blamed for it, I might as well do it kind of way. No, forget that part, okay? Two things. Number one, you cannot film in a nuclear power plant without permission, okay? And if he filmed, he either A, did it illegally, or B, did it with the permission of his company, that thereby ties his YouTube videos to the reputation of his company. Okay? Look up the zoning of any trade port, any refinery, any power plant, any reactor. Okay? Look up the zoning and you'll find that post 9/11, because terrorism. Okay? Because terrorism, you're not allowed to have a frickin' cell phone with a camera. You're not allowed to have, a drone fly over it. Not allowed to have, unless you have permission. So he either broke the law, or he had the permission of the company running that power plant and his employment. So that's what ties his videos and his opinions to his work. He filmed at his place of employment. Number two, okay? Second thing that no one's brought up yet, but I'm just going to put out there because I've worked for a lot of large companies, okay? You've probably seen a lot of logos and a lot of t-shirts, because I get a lot of shirts with collars and a lot of other shirts for my employers, and I save them all and I wear them proudly. My ex-employers, I love them all, right? I know that if I were to have a complaint sent in to me, and that complaint were to have been found to be baseless by HR or my boss, that neither of those two entities, my boss or HR, would give me the identity of somebody who made a complaint against me, to include their email address and their docs and whatnot. The copy of the complaint would not be given to me in whole with the person who wrote the complaint. Okay? That would be unethical. Okay? What kind of atmosphere is his employer trying to foster if somebody complains about somebody else, and if it's found to be baseless, they just give the complaint right over to the person that was complained about? There's a certain amount of confidentiality that you're supposed to be able to trust, that an employer will not, just give your complaint right over to his employee and say, hey, look at this. Now you can retaliate because you have her information. Okay? When Thunderf00t explained the situation, he implicated his employer in that unethical behavior. So, yeah. Two wrongs there. Shame. But as far as people dropping each other, which didn't happen here, but people complaining to each other's employers, I think that after this, maybe we'll have something like the Cold War, where an armed society is a more civil society, and maybe people will start to be nicer to each other in the era of YouTube, where people find it more palatable to complain to someone's employer when they disagree with them. Maybe. Because every fight you start, just like when Josh Clark came to the Facebook page of my business and shit all over it, every fight that you start on YouTube could come back to haunt you.